Hi, welcome to Frankie and Lola. We loved traveling in our motorhome so much that we sold our house and now live in the motorhome full time. We would love to have you follow along as we travel around the country exploring fun and interesting places.
In this video, we continue with our departure, or attempted departure, from Texas.
We were so happy and excited to be finally beginning the next part of our lives as full-time RVers. We'd sold our house, our small motorhome, our Jeep, and the car trailer. We had given away nearly everything we owned and put the small amount that remained in storage.
We had purchased a big motorhome to call our home on the road.
We decided to make a visit to Sandy Creek Corps of Engineers Park on Lake Steinhagen as our last Texas visit for a while. It has been one of our favorites since we first camped there. It's a beautiful park in East Texas.
There are almost always gorgeous sunsets on the lake, and it is such a peaceful place. I was driving the bus with a motorcycle trailer behind it.
I was driving the Jeep with the bicycles on the back. Sandy Creek Park is 100 miles from where we started from, near Conroe, Texas. The trip normally takes us a little over 2 hours in a motorhome.
We had reserved a large pull-through spot in the park since we were fully loaded with stuff. Typical of most Corps of Engineer parks, this park does not have full hookups. It does have a dump station where you can empty your tanks.
We had figured that we could carefully make it without having to take an extra trip to the dump station.
When we travel, we use radios between the vehicles since we aren't always in cell coverage.
I had driven a little ahead to find exactly where our spot was so that I would be ready to help Frankie park. Frankie's driving a 43-foot motorhome and towing a 10-foot trailer.
When I was about 6 miles from the park, a serious problem began with the motorhome.
He radioed me that he had a problem with the power steering.
There was no shoulder on the road for me to pull off, so I had no choice but to continue to the park.
He had to muscle a 40,000-pound vehicle with no power steering into our spot. I gave him instructions on where the turns were so that he did not have to make any extra turns.
When we were safely in our spot, we discovered that the power steering hose had blown and all the fluid had been pumped out.
The back of the bus was covered in red fluid. What a mess!
The bigger issue was that we could no longer drive the bus. It would have to be towed to a repair shop. The bus is built on a Freightliner chassis, and we were not too far from a Freightliner dealer in Beaumont, Texas, about 70 miles.
Frankie called them about fixing the bus. They also recommended a towing company for us to use with our roadside assistance provider. Frankie spent 3 days back and forth with the roadside assistance company.
They kept running us around in circles. Fed up, we finally scheduled a heavy wrecker ourselves.
Guess what that cost? $2,500. We decided to cancel our contract with that roadside assistance company and go with a different one, since the first company's customer service was so horrible.
Back to the bus. We had been camped for 4 days, and our holding tanks were filling up. We could not drive to the dump station. Do you see where this is going? We couldn't stay in the bus, so we arranged to get a hotel in Beaumont for about a week while the bus was getting repaired.
Since Frankie still works, he had to be online and working from the hotel. I was going to go back to Sandy Creek Park and meet the wrecker driver there. While I was back at the bus waiting for the wrecker driver, he called me to ask if I knew the load rating for a particular bridge, since his rig is huge and very heavy. He said his tow truck is 70,000 pounds. I didn't know the rating of the bridge, but he decided to risk it and try it anyway.
Fortunately, there was no problem with the bridge.
I had absolutely no idea what to expect in the process of towing a motorhome. The record driver told me the process of getting it ready to tow would take approximately 2 hours. Wow!
The drive shaft on the bus had to be disconnected. Actually, it's mentioned in the owner's manual.
About 20 minutes into this process, I got a call from my brother who happened to be out of the country at the time. He told me that her mother had passed away. Mom's apartment had to be cleaned out and a funeral arranged. While the bus was being readied to be towed, I made all the phone calls to all the other relatives.
Her brother arranged to come back to Texas to help with their mom's apartment and with funeral arrangements.
We now had to get another hotel on the far west side of Houston, near where Mom had been living. The staff at my mom's retirement community were all so gracious and helpful. What a relief that was. Frankie, my brother, and I spent 4 days emptying Mom's apartment, arranging a funeral for her. The pastor of Mom's church was wonderfully helpful in the process, and we really appreciated his help too.
Our departure from Texas was delayed by 2 weeks. Beaumont Freightliner got us back together properly at a reasonable cost, well, for a 40,000-pound vehicle. We decided to cancel some stops so we could get back on track with our other plans. Unfortunately, that meant we didn't get to go to Arkansas and spend time at the hot springs.
What a disappointment that was on top of everything else.
Next stop, Tennessee. Stay tuned to find out how it went.